Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video, this time for Final Fantasy XIV Mobile once again. Yesterday, a live letter for the Chinese version of Final Fantasy XIV Mobile was broadcast, and with it came our first real look at standout features the game is offering in comparison to our regular Final Fantasy XIV version. Firstly, it's important to note then that we still do not have a release schedule for global audiences, only facts on the Chinese version, a fact of which is set to go into closed beta on May the 23rd, and then there's supposed to be an open beta sometime in June, and then a full Chinese release on August the 23rd of this year, and presumably we'll get information on a global release after August 23rd sometime. So the game is made for a mobile device, and there seems to be many new features to make playing on mobile a little bit more friendly. Namely, one of the demonstrations they showed during the live letter was setting waymarks on the map, such as for a fate or a quest, and then having the ability to let your character auto move to that location. This then creates a golden beam that you can follow from your pinned mark on the map that you set, just like in any other RPG that utilizes the same features, but you can also just make your character run over there if you wish at a click of a button. Although, bear in mind, this does not play the game for you, it's just a movement system and a waymark system. You still have to do all of the fighting yourself, obviously. The China version comes with the moving whilst mounting that we have in the regular Final Fantasy XIV version that we're still getting used to. I mean, I'm still in the regular version standing still to summon my mounts, but there's many other things as well that have made it over that you might see in this footage from our version. The biggest standout feature then of the live letter was the discussion about a new glamour system and its dyes. This definitely piqued my interest. One of the things to note is that glamour is actually stored in just the data, it's not a physical item, so this is something I wish Final Fantasy XIV had, and they're showing like a search function to be able to find the item you're looking for, but that's not all. You have 16 layers of dye ability. Yes, 16 layers of dye ability per glamour piece. As you can see in this footage, this allows for much greater customization with whatever glamour you display on screen. This reminds me quite heavily of games like Black Desert or other Korean MMORPGs of the same ilk, where customization is a lot freer. Tiny little tassels that are changed in color, as well as like lapels and then stitching and things like that. The fact that we can essentially choose to dye many different individual parts rather than just two is a huge difference, at least for me. Highlight logos, embroidery, stitch lines, and so much more is going to make me very jealous that this isn't the normal Final Fantasy XIV version. Whilst very unlikely, there could be a chance, a small amount of copium, that one day in the far distant future, but some of this tech could come over to our global normal version of Final Fantasy. But honestly, I wouldn't hold your breath. It certainly looks like something that's capable of a 2025 developed game rather than our own, but we'll have to wait and see. But it makes me very jealous to look at these and go, wow, I just need this. I really need this. Obviously, a concern with a system like this and many others is the monetization direction and practices. We have talked about this before, where Lightspeed Studios, the people behind this, mentioned that they don't want to have a gacharification of the game, but I do wonder how many of these new systems, especially with 16 dye options per glamour piece, we can actually expect to make it over to the cash shop. Think about all of the dyes that you would purchase to glamour something. If I have to buy 16 jet black dyes, is that going to be the same price as it would be if I were to purchase it on our store? Ooh, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Until we get a hands-on with any of these systems and any kind of, global beta or something, it's hard to tell. So for now, I'm just going to stand to be blown away with the prospect of more customization, but remain fairly cynical and on the fence about it. It isn't all just glamour and quality of life, though. Lightspeed Studios appear to have approached the high-end raiding in a transformative way. Of course, obviously, the first thing that you would encounter is Coils of Bahamut, as we know. The first 8-man raid content you'll get to do in mobile, it's the same. And they've really taken quite a surprising approach to this. The Coils of Bahamut, as we know, is obviously not the same. And rather than just a one-to-one of the fights we remember from the normal game, as you can see in this footage, there have been some rather modern directions on how mechanics will play out. Firstly, you'll note that there is no trash fights leading up to the bosses. There is no lead up at all. It is just a flat arena, there is the boss. They are just bosses. They talk about this quite heavily, how they wanted to, get you straight to the content and get straight into the action. And I suppose that kind of matches up to the mobile sort of aesthetic. Secondly, there are key fight adjustments, including interruptible abilities. There are new tank swaps they mention, split boss phases, and back and front cleaves, the sort of thing that you would be familiar with in modern Final Fantasy XIV. So whilst many of the familiar mechanics from a boss like this are still here, it's still very iconically the same boss, especially with the split phase and things. They have definitely tried to simplify things, but also try to keep you on your toes. And there are actually some interesting new features along with what was originally there, such as that new puddle mechanic. They demonstrate this new slime and puddle feeding system with the boss. The boss will have the ability to then absorb these puddles to regain health, which is a completely new mechanic. So what they've done is try to make the content as challenging as you would expect, but also fit into a modern audience playing on a phone, which is something that constantly never gets old when I remind myself this is on a phone. I really hope that it comes to something else other than just phones, because I'm not much of a phone gamer, but it looks astonishing. Additionally, it seems that every class in the game will get access to their own unique dodge roll. This appears to be on a 15-second cooldown for everyone, and it appears on all jobs, and they all seem to have their own animations for it. You can maybe see it in a bit of this footage. It's pretty cool, obviously, in adding different ways to deal with AoEs instead of just running away, like fancy dodge rolls and things. It's pretty cool. Definitely a different concept. Outside of raiding then and combat, there's plenty to do. There appears to be a new player statistics tracking system. There's a panel that tells you how far you've traveled on foot, how much time you've played on your character, and there's so much more as well. The user interface in particular is completely different to Final Fantasy XIV as we know it, with many transitional pages having like these smooth animations and easier to find the button you're looking for layouts. The map, for example, zooms out with clouds. It just looks so polished. There are new UIs, obviously, for everything, but including combat, as we've seen in many other videos and trailers, where obviously everything is tailored around touchscreens. The whole game just looks absolutely stunning, and I really am quite jealous that we don't get this on any other platform. I really hope they have like a sneaky surprise that they're going to launch it on a Switch 2 or something, but it would be just nice to have a standalone version of this, especially with this new engine, and I really hope that one day they can go, hey, maybe not everybody wants to play a game like this on mobile. Maybe this is such a good version, maybe it deserves a PC and console release, but again, it probably won't. But I don't know. Some other things that I noticed whilst I was looking through the live letter with some of this background footage. Obviously, loot is an important part of it. They showed the initiation of quests. There's obviously an achievement system. This here in particular is quite interesting. You know, these are lookout points that you might be familiar with. If you approach these in the mobile version, it actually prompts you with different emotes, and it's kind of like made into a little bit of a puzzle. There are other elements of the game like this as well, but you'll notice that when you do a lookout point, you immediately get the postcard added to a collection. It's absolutely gorgeous. I really wish we had that sort of instant gratification when we had completed a lookout point, for example, in regular game. There are obviously other interactions as well. There appears to be, now I could be wrong here, but there's the minion list. The guy is selecting a minion and then talking to an NPC. And I don't know if it was the minion that did this or if it's just talking to the NPC, but you'll see that meeting different people around the world, maybe with a specific minion out or something, unlocks some other collectibles. There's just a lot of cool things to collect, and they've really focused on trying to make the game a much more immersive and interactable thing than a lot of us expected. A lot of this open world interaction is something I sorely think needs to transition over to the regular version of a game. More often than not, we talk about old zones not getting the same love that new zones get, and more ways that they could innovate and bring people back to older areas. And I think this sort of achievement tracking, unlock collectible system, even postcards and things, would be a fantastic idea, and it seems to be something that's definitely tickling my fancy. When I watch this footage, I'm like, wow, I actually wouldn't mind sitting, you know, on the couch and unlocking some new stuff, going and talking to various NPCs, working on little puzzles, maybe doing, you know, sightseeing logs and stuff. It sounds quite fun, especially when you get that instant gratification of little postcards and collectibles. If the full version had that, it would be just incredible. Maybe you are the sort of person that will play on mobile exclusively, and this really does, you know, immediately strike your interest. Just bear in mind, obviously, these are separate accounts. Final Fantasy XIV and Final Fantasy XIV Mobile are completely different dev studios, different accounts and things. Obviously, one is set in a Realm Reborn. It'll be interesting to see in the future if, like, they do expansion content the same way, you know, purchasing access to, you know, new content and things. I'm just very curious where this project is going to go and how far all of these things will advance. Different ideas are definitely welcome to the table, and I really hope that Creative Unit 3 will look at this and go, that's a really good idea, and then steal it and use it in the full game. That's my hope for this more than anything else, is that hopefully our version of the game benefits massively from the test bed that is the mobile version. It also looks pretty good as well. But yeah, I wish there was more than just a mobile version. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. That was basically the TLDR of the live letter, full of very interesting pieces of footage of a variety of different locations and features. And yeah, I remain to be on the fence until I get to play it myself in some far off future time. Much love, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.